This is the kind of match I would normally refrain from putting on YouTube because as time goes on, it's going to start looking more and more like a blowout. But I think the results of this match were maybe a little bit closer than what the dwindling number of red ships is soon going to suggest. Before we get there, though, there's quite a bit to cover. Obviously, this is a match where somebody turned off crossplay. And this is maybe becoming a little bit of a theme on my channel because I do like to post these games where somebody turned off crossplay. I tend to put on my tryhard pants whenever I see one of these in hopes that I will be able to have a big impact on the game, and also in hopes that whoever turned off crossplay is on the red team and is going to lose so badly that they will be forced to reckon with the fact that they are in fact a potato, regardless of whether they choose to play full 9v9s or choose to turn off crossplay in hopes of getting smaller matches so that they can be more effective. Get good is essentially the message I have to anybody who wants to turn off crossplay. If that offends you, please let me know in the comments section. I will be very, very concerned about your emotions. In any case, we are approaching the Charlie Cap. It's turning red. We've got some teammates behind us who can hopefully shoot at whatever we spot. But we do want to be careful because we did take a look at the lineup of the teams, and we know that there is a Wooster on the red team. Wooster is a very dangerous cruiser, of course, because it has radar. And you know how I often say, when you're playing a destroyer, it's not always a great idea to drive face first into a cap at the beginning of the game. It's a lot better to drive in stern first so that you're pointing in the right direction to get away if things start getting too hot and heavy. Of course, we're making our turn away a little bit late after we reveal the Hayate, who is, unfortunately for him, stuck bow in. Not ideal for a destroyer like that with 6 guns, 2 of which are on the back of the ship. He can only fire back with that front turret, and so he's not going to be able to do a lot of damage. But his teammates are. You can see the Wooster is shooting at us from behind the island over there to the right of the screen. But at the same time, our teammates are shooting at the Hayate, which is good because we need a little bit of assistance to take this guy down. He's almost gone, and, well, the Montana sweeps in with the first blood medal. The destroyer is taken off the board, and we get hit by a salvo from the Wooster, which lights a fire after we've used our DCP. We started at about 4,000 HP when that salvo hit us and lit the fire. By the time it's done burning, we really aren't going to have a lot of HP left. And that's not great, because there is still one enemy destroyer left floating. He's actually going to end up surviving till the end of the match. But the reason I wanted to show you this game is primarily because of this. We are in hard mode right now with 2,104 HP left to our name. And that's not ideal for a destroyer like the Kitakaze, whose main armament really is the main guns. That's usually how the Kitakaze is going to have the most impact on the game, is by firing its guns. Whether it's taking out enemy destroyers, like we did in contributing to the Hayate's demise, or whether it's farming battleships or cruisers. The Kitakaze has enough main gun firepower to do all of the above, but not if it's only got 2,100 HP. We need a little bit more than that to play around with. So, what can we do if we cannot use our guns? Well, we can fulfill one of the primary roles of the destroyer, which is to gather intelligence data, and that's what we're doing right now. As you can see, we're trying to keep the Wooster spotted for our Montana and cruiser teammate, who are, for some reason, still behind that island, but we do have another battleship pushing into the Charlie Cap going straight at the Wooster. And basically, we just want to keep that Wooster spotted so that they can shoot at him and deal damage. We also want to stay far enough away from the Wooster that he can't radar us, which is why we're hanging out in excess of 10 km. Then the Wooster goes behind the island, and we're going to head back toward our spawn to try to get a different angle on him and keep him revealed for this Montana, which, as we can see, is quite eager to sink the Wooster. But in the meantime, the rest of the enemy team is in the center of the map, and they all appear to be pushing north through Bravo. So the idea now is we're going to sail back this way, north of the Charlie Cap. I don't know if we're going to enter the cap and try to take it, but what we ultimately want to end up doing is getting north of Bravo to be in front of the enemy push so that maybe we can launch torpedoes at them. We spot the Wooster in between the islands there. We are within radar range, and we decide we're going to shoot our guns just once in order to try to bait him into maybe using the radar and wasting it while we're behind the island. Doesn't pan out, though. Seems like he's got bigger problems to worry about with two Montanas right in front of his face. He goes dark behind the island again. We've got one rack of torpedoes headed his way, which may or may not hit. But I don't think that Wooster is very long for this world. He might be able to survive for a little bit longer inside of that cap, but he's got no assistance, and he's got two battleships pushing straight into him from different angles, which means even though he does have that 32mm bow that he can point at these guys, he's probably not going to be able to protect himself in the long term. We do have a USS Maine pushing in as well, and that might be a little bit of a problem. So maybe we'll be able to get some shots on him, but the entire midsection of the map is devoid of spotting. And you can see we've got a Des Moines posted north of the Thunderdome over there who's got nothing to shoot at because nothing is seen for him. So my idea here was to continue toward Bravo and get the intelligence data of the ships that are pushing into Bravo. Of course, we do open fire on that Maine, which was a little bit inadvisable because whatever's in the center was able to spot us and shoot at us. And now we have 372 HP. But don't worry, that's 371 more HP than I actually need to continue having an impact on this battle. And this, once again, goes back to something fundamental about playing destroyers. Destroyers are still the most influential class of ships in this game because they are the stealthiest and because they're the most efficient at getting intelligence data, which you need in order to damage the enemy team. Wooster, by the way, takes a big hit from one of the Montanas, but it's not enough to sink him. I think one more hit, one more overpen from either one of those is going to send him to the bottom of the sea, and then we're going to be ahead, at least in terms of ship counts. I don't know about points, though, because the enemy team does hold 2 out of 3 of the caps, but we're still making our way toward Bravo as the Wooster does go down. So, once we round this corner, we should be able to spot the remaining 2 battleships for the benefit of the Des Moines right there, who is still hanging out behind that island near the Thunderdome. We're going to come around the island here, and we should see 2 battleships which were last spotted pushing into this direction. And I never expected this to work out as well as it's going to, but take a look at this Ohio, and not only the Ohio, but another battleship that we're about to spot here. Maybe not yet. We're going to launch some torpedoes at the Ohio, and there's the Maine. Both of them are traveling in a straight line. The Ohio clearly wants to push into the Des Moines, and the Maine, for whatever reason, wants to go into the Thunderdome. I don't know if these guys are aware that there is still a destroyer left floating on my team, and that destroyer is me. But I would think the fact that they were not spotted and are now should indicate to them that they are being stalked by a destroyer, and maybe, just maybe, they should vary their course and speed a little bit because these torpedoes, while they are not the main feature, I would say, of the Kitakaze, they are still IJN torpedoes, and they don't feel good when you get hit by 3 of them. Just ask the Ohio. He was on maybe 75% HP. He's now down to maybe 33%. And don't worry, there's still more damage to do where that came from. The Maine is also about to take 2 or 3 torpedoes. He had a lot of HP too. He doesn't now. In fact, he appears to have a perma-flood on him. I don't know if he DCP'd a fire on his way into the Thunderdome, but the damage numbers continue to tick up, and they're about to go past 140,000. We've also got the high caliber, and do we get the kill on the Maine with the flooding, hopefully for the liquidator medal? No. That kill goes to the Des Moines, but that's okay, That was the whole purpose for us coming out to this flank, was to spot for the Des Moines. So the fact that he got damage on that main and was able to get the kill means that we've properly done our job. We're also doing our job in spotting the Brindisi for our remaining teammates who are pushing from the Charlie Cap into Bravo. Des Moines has gone around the Thunderdome and entered the Alpha Cap, and he's being pursued by the Ohio, who's going to take a long time to be able to catch him. Now, we don't really want to pursue the Ohio because he's kind of irrelevant to the outcome of this game. He's not got a lot of HP left. He's not going to be able to stand up to the combined firepower of our remaining 3 teammates. The real problem left in this game is the last remaining enemy destroyer, who, as we can see, is in the Charlie Cap flipping it. Now, we know the destroyer is a gearing, but we don't know how much HP it's got. And of course, as I fire at the Ohio, once again, we get spotted by the gearing, which reveals that he doesn't have any HP at all, but he's got more HP than I do. And luckily, I don't know if he was just very, very excited to get vision on my Kitakaze, but he's not exactly landing his salvos there. We are able to get a little bit of damage on him and maybe make the HP situation more even. But of course, here comes the Battleship Brigade. They're going to chase, or actually, no. I thought initially, when I was playing this game, you're going to see me say capture the Bravo Cap, and then they're going to say no because they want to go pursue the Ohio. So I'm going to give them a well played, that's how it's done, in sarcasm. And I was thinking that they were actually pushing around the island to chase the Ohio. But no, they're not. So it's not quite as bad as I was initially thinking when I was playing the game. In fact, they are sailing into the Thunderdome, which means they're going to catch the Ohio head on. I thought they were chasing him from behind, which would have been, well, a rather silly maneuver. But they're not. And they're going to take him out, which is fine. We're going to secure the Bravo Cap to net ourselves some more XP and credits. And then we're going to try to push into the gearing and take him out. The gearing smoked up. We don't know exactly where he is, but at this point, I was assuming he was still inside of the smoke screen, maybe waiting for me to push in. It's going to turn out that I am incorrect, and at this point, the game is basically won. We managed to do it with 372 HP for the majority of the time. And that basically brings home my point as this game winds down. The Destroyer is the most influential class in this game, and you can run into situations like I did early on, where I got most of my HP removed by the teammates of the Hayate and was reduced to 372. Well, a little bit more than that. I made a mistake, got spotted, and got shot when I probably should have played more carefully. Frankly, I'm lucky to be alive. But the point here is, this is 371 more HP than I still needed to impact the outcome of this game. Because every destroyer in this game, even if it's a gunboat like the Kitakaze, does have torpedoes. Unless it's the Friesland, I suppose that doesn't, but everything else does. So even when you have been reduced to nothing, you are still able to deal damage with your torpedoes, you're still able to spot and provide valuable intelligence data for your team, and you are still able to take capture circles. So, even if you find yourself unceremoniously thrust into hard mode by the damage inflicted upon you by the Reds, don't give up. Continue to try, because if you are a destroyer, your team is going to get more value out of you when you're alive than if you're sunk. And so we win the game with over 3,000 XP, and I hope whoever turned off crossplay is on the red team. Don't turn off crossplay, but always play till the end of the battle in your destroyer. That's the message for today. Hope you enjoyed the video. If so, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.